Center is our third central alignment technique, or our alignment template. So center includes the spine, which we've already talked about, and natural curves of the spine is a good framework to work with. But it also includes core. And when we think about our core, we, the Pilates view might be switch it on, hold it on the whole time. But we know that that's actually not sustainable for muscles. Muscles need to work and be active and strong, but then they also need to be able to relax and switch off. And that actually holding a muscle strong the whole time is more depleting, weakening for the muscle in the long run. If I'm holding a 20 kilo weight in my hand and I'm just holding it here, and then you say, oh, can you hold this shopping bag as well? Then strength to hold it there. So yes, you can hold it for some time, but there's not that added endurance effect. So the core is in one of three positions. It's either switched on, and there are certain poses where, yes, we need a strong core, like your plank pose, or even some inversions and chaturanga. And for stabilizing the core to offer the support for the lumbar spine. And then we've got core switched off, which might be like in Shavasana. Do you need a switched on core? No. What about in your forward fold? You have an active core. But the great majority of the settings that we'll use is alternating current breath. Is where we breathe and the belly is switched off to enable a full yogic breath, and then as we breathe out, the core is switched off. So we'll do this, we'll experience a lot of practice, but then there'll be certain times where I go, okay, let's really engage the core, and I'll just relax it. So please come into your comfortable seat and can allow the palms to face down on the knees, and closing your eyes. And just taking a moment to bring your attention into your center. You could even bring one hand onto your belly if you wanted to. So center is not only a physical location, but it's also a metaphoric or a psychological location, as in being centered mean to you. So you can start to breathe down into your belly and awakening your diaphragmatic breath, feeling the belly soften on the inhale and expand on your inhale. And as you exhale, just let the exhale be quite natural. But this whole area, from the bottom of the ribs out to the side waist, down to the pubic bone, this large circle of area where the epicenter, be aware of this as your psychological center. And maybe as you continue to breathe your diaphragmatic breaths, then notice what does it, or recall what it feels like to be centered. For some people it's grounded. For others they say strong or stable. What does being centered, what's the experience of being centered like for you? Perhaps even recalling some times in your life when you're feeling centered. And allow this breath to continue to expand. So moving towards your full yogic breath, breathing down into the belly and out to the side ribs and to the upper back and the upper chest together. And then as you exhale, release from the upper back and chest. Exhale out from the ribs. And then start to actively draw the navel to, and inhaling into a soft belly. Feel that expansion in the belly to the side ribs, to the upper back and the upper chest. And as you exhale, emptying from the upper, the middle, and then an active emptying as you draw the navel towards the spine. And continue on like this in your own time, finding the fullness of the breath via this filling of your center, feeling your cup fill completely. And then being very active with your exhalation. So maybe as you exhale, next time you exhale, bring the hand onto the belly and feel a strong activation there as you draw the navel to the spine. You might even notice pubic bone lifts and the front hip bones move towards each other, and even the pelvic floor lifts as well. And then feel it all soften. And even the pelvis rocks a little with your inhalation as the belly expands. The breath moves up in its own time. And again, give exhalation. So narrowing through the waist, even lifting through the pubic floor, the pelvic floor, lifting the pubic bone towards the navel. And one more breath like this, finding that expansion. And as you have this alternating current of the breath, notice that the breath and the movement of the spine and even the movement of the pelvis is all linked. Finding a fluidity there rather than any static, rigid hold. So maybe that being centered is actually to be able to be fluid and stable within the movement. So you can then bring the hands up into Namaste and continue with your breath, intention for practice. Remember at the beginning of the practice saying it more like a prayer or a wish. May I find peace, contentment and ease, or whatever it is for you. And repeating in your mind and in your body, maybe placing it into the altar of the belly, into your own center. So in Chinese medicine, it's the hara, the sea of energy, or dantian, so this elixir, finding the enliven your intention further. And let's then offer this up and out. So stretching the arms up overhead and reaching to the fingertips, and then opening the arms out and letting your intention drape over you like soft fireworks, landing all over your body. You can bring the feet together into a diamond pose, and we'll take some spinal flexion, which directly relates to the movement of center. So inhaling and lifting the chest, let the belly fill, and the chest fill last, remembering to breathe into the upper back. I'd highly recommend coming off any support here, so you're just on the floor. And then as you exhale, chin into the chest and rounding through the back and leaning back. Yep. Inhaling, and so just hands on the knees so that you can focus on this movement in the spine, and in particular this movement of center. So inhaling to find the opening, exhaling, actively draw navel to spine. Inhale your full yogic breath, belly, side ribs, upper back and chest, and exhaling. So not only noticing the movement of the breath, but the spine and even how the pelvis relates, so that they all together. There's a fluidity and ease, a rightness about the movement that is wonderfully centering as well. And then taking your inhalation here to lift through the chest. And with your exhalation, sliding the hands forward and down. And as you hold here, just let yourself become soft. So give yourself permission for your belly to soften and to let it hang out. If you've seen those little Buddha statues with the Buddha belly hanging out, that soft belly. So actually give yourself permission to let your belly soften here. And still the breath will flow there, but just looking at it as a moment of rest that actually can bring greater strength later. That rest is the opposite of activity, and that the two sides of the one coin are needed in life. Okay, let's then inhale and slide your hands back up. You can bring the knees together and swing the legs around, coming towards a hands and knees position. And same movement on hands and knees, so cat's breath movement on hands and knees. Let's just stabilize for a moment in neutral spine and find those natural curves of the spine. Remember, the sacrum here is slightly rounded, and the lower back has a slight dip, but not too much. And the thoracic spine moves slightly towards the ceiling, and the neck vertebrae move down towards the floor. So there's that serpentine, meandering shape of the spine, and these natural curves are important. So take an inhale and lift the sit bones up and let the belly drop down towards the floor, and then lengthen the chest forward. So actually be soft in the belly here. And then as you exhale, press the earth away from you and rounding through the back and tucking the chin into the chest and scooping the tail. So we're going into that cat tilt or posterior tilt. And then inhaling and opening, so soft belly. So let the breath come into the belly. And then as you exhale and go into the opposite shape, think navel to spine and emptying out completely. So exhale everything out. The quality of the inhale can only come from a full emptying. A quality inhale can only come from an empty set of lungs. So following that exhale all the way to its end, and feel that natural navel to spine and scoop through the tail, and where your core is. Okay, a few more rounds like this. And then next time you inhale, stretch the right leg back behind you. Still lengthening the chest forward, but reaching the right leg back. And then exhaling and take the knee into the chest and coil into a little ball. Then inhale to reach the right leg back. Hold for a moment and think about that right heel plugging into the body. So we have this muscle, the psoas, that connects from the belly down to the thigh. So the leg is actually connected to the core. So plug it in and feel that connection rather than being drawn and quartered, like limbs extending out. Draw and hug it in. And then working a few more times, exhaling, knee into the chest and rounding through the back, empty. Inhale and opening out, soft belly. And exhaling in. And then inhale to open. Lift the leg, bend the knee, and reaching back with your left hand to catch hold of the foot. So as we come towards a back bend, you might find that that's a little too much compression in my lumbar spine. So we could keep a little bit of activation through the belly if you needed to. And then breathe maybe more towards the side ribs and the chest, just to stabilize the structure of the lumbar spine. Remember, it doesn't have the bony support, so we need the muscular support there. You can release the left hand down and then stepping the foot to the space between the hands. So particularly when we're in that prone shape, like belly down, we need to stabilize. One hand onto the belly and finding your Anjaneyasana here. Take an inhale, have a soft belly, and then as you exhale, navel to spine. So some of you, so remember natural curves of the spine, we don't want to, so some of you might have more of a sway back and therefore need a little more cat tilt, maybe scooping the tail slightly. But otherwise you could just keep a neutral pelvis. Then inhaling and taking the arms up overhead. Alternating current again, so inhaling and finding the soft belly. And as you exhale, navel to spine and finding that activation. Does anyone need some padding that doesn't have it? Yeah. And a few more breaths here. Thanks. And each inhale, you can get a little longer. And with the exhalation this time, you can bring the hands down either side of the foot. Did anybody else want knee padding? Yes. You can release the hands down and step back into hands and knees. And then back into an extended child's pose. So walking the hands as far forward as possible. Have the toes tucked. Inhale forward into a plank pose. And as you come into plank pose, look into the belly. So just knees down, plank pose, sorry. Yeah. And look into the belly and get that lengthening or tuck of the tail, cat tilt, or a posterior tilt, as well as pubic bone lifting. So you just check your position, that you've got shoulders, hips, and knees all in one line. Come forward and then tuck your tail. And keep the lift through the belly as you then lower yourself down. So again here, when we've got an active core and navel to spine, then you might find that the breath is a little reduced, and that's okay, because we're being deliberate about it. We're not living our whole life like that. Okay, Shalabhasana, bring the hands back alongside the hips, palms facing down, and feel for the center of the heel facing the ceiling as you inhale and lift everything up. Lift the head, chest, and legs up. With your palms facing down, imagine basketballs there, and you're pressing the hands down, maybe even taking a micro bend through the elbows to lift yourself up more through the upper back. And find natural curves in the neck as well. So maybe that means looking down towards the floor more. Good. All right, then release and touch the hands under the shoulders, shoulder width apart, and rising up just through a hands and knees position. it's important to have that core activation to lift you as well. All right, just on hands and knees, and we're going to do the contrast. So you may have been to some studios, just hands and knees, so walk your hands back. So arms are vertical, thighs are vertical. So have you been to some studios where they do the opposite breath? So they'll exhale down and inhale to round. Okay, we'll just do it, just for contrast. So this has a big red cross through it. Yeah? And you'll feel the difference in it. Okay, so let's exhale the belly down towards the floor and open through the front body. And then inhale and round. And exhale, belly down. Engage your core. Yeah. And then going the opposite. And all right, so how was that? It makes no sense, does it? When we've got this natural movement happening, you know, when we set it up at the beginning, this natural movement of the spine and the belly, the other way that we did at the beginning actually works better. Yeah? All right, so good news. Yeah? Have you never been to a studio where they do that? It happens. So let's do the other side. Coming back to hands and knees. Let's inhale and open through the front of the body. Ah, oh, feels so much better. And exhaling, pressing the earth away and rounding through the back. Inhaling again to open out. And exhaling. Think navel to spine, rounding through the back. Good. Inhale to open. Stretching the left leg back as well. And then as you exhale, knee into the chest. Inhale to open through the front body. Just hold this for a moment and get that, just for contrast again, reach the heel back like you're trying to push the wall behind you away from you. And then plug it back in. So like you're plugging your femur back into the socket and back into the hip, and feel it connected to the core. Good. All right, then exhaling. So that's subtle, but you can maybe feel the difference. A couple more times. Inhale, stretching back. Soft belly. And exhale, navel to spine. Rounding. Inhale to stretch back, this time reaching back to catch hold of the foot. So there's also another aspect of center is balance, and we'll get to that in a little moment. Maybe looking forward could help. Maybe lifting through the inner left heel could help. And stabilizing a little through the core so that your lower back is supported in this way. Okay, then releasing the right hand down, step the foot through to the space between. Come on up and one hand onto the belly. Again, just close your eyes and go into this feeling of, as you inhale, having a soft belly, giving it permission to soften, but not the bowl of your pelvis. You don't want that spilling forward, it's staying in neutral. And with the exhalation, navel to spine, activation. Then you can inhale and stretch the arms up. As you inhale, notice perhaps any tendency to go back into your chest breath and just breathe up into your chest, and instead go deliberately down. So your full yogic breath, breathing down, soft belly, out to the side ribs and up into the upper back and to the chest. Yeah, good. Nice. Okay, then releasing and touching the hands down. From here, let's step forward and lift through the chest, opening through the front body. As you exhale, you can fold yourself in. Bend the knees, come up through a reverse swan dive, keeping those natural curves of the spine as you rise up. So remembering bending the knees can really help to free the spine up, liberate the spine, bring the hands back into namaste. Inhale to sweep the arms out and up. And exhaling, folding forward and down. Inhale, lifting halfway up and lengthening through the spine. And as you exhale, just step both legs back and into a plank pose. So jumping is a bit jarring on the lower back. So stepping back, you're in plank pose, hands are shoulder width apart. Again, look into your belly and tone through your core, so navel to spine, and go for that cat tilt or posterior tilt. And then lengthening the chest forward. And again, just for contrast, let's try the opposite tilt in the pelvis. So go booty out and then try and engage your core and feel how your arms have to do a lot more work. Okay, let's scoop the tail again and get that strengthening through the core. Press the earth away from you and lowering yourself down onto the belly. Elbows under the shoulders and then rise up into a sphinx pose. So position the elbows, forward under the shoulders, even further. Yes, yes, yes. Actively pressing the tops of the feet into the floor and again look into the belly. So as you draw the navel towards the spine, encouraging more of a scoop of the tail. Hips down, belly lifted, chest lengthening forward, and maybe a feeling of sliding the hands back so you can lengthen the chest forward more and looking forward. Good. And lowering down, now just shoulders here, elbows here, sorry, even further. Yes, yes. Okay, tuck the hands under the shoulders. Activate your core to lift up. So lift through your belly, lift through your hips to rise up. Yes. All right, and then back into downward facing dog. Just take the knees to the floor for a little second. So when you're lifting up and if you're just using the upper body, you'll look like that. And that's this slamming into the lower back that we've talked about already. So instead, you want to engage the core, lift everything up as one. So if I try and do that with the booty out, then again, it's just all my shoulders because my core's not active. Lift, scoop, and then rise up, then you've got more core activation. So great news, your turn. Yay. Just do it on the knees. Lift the hips, but not booty out. So lift the hips and tuck the tail, lift the belly. Scoop, 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 yes, and then rise up. So you want more lift through here and more tuck of the tail, yes. All right, and then moving yourself back into downward facing dog. Awesome, all right, let's inhale the right leg, smooth. And again, just go for that feeling, the difference between reaching the foot away from you and almost dismembering yourself versus plugging the femur back in. Like you've got your right leg is a hollow straw and you're sucking up into the core. And then exhale, knee into the chest, take a tiger curl, come well forward, navel to spine, round through the back. Inhaling to stretch up and back. And this time keep the legs straight and strong through the core. And exhale, come forward into your plank. Keep the leg extended, keep the leg extended. But all your awareness in your center. That's it, good. Inhaling, up and back. And exhale, the foot to the space. Nice, all right. Turn the back heel in and down and coming on up into your Virabhadrasana 2, facing this way. That's it, yes. Check deepening the right knee. You can inhale into the air and then thread this left arm around behind and catching hold. So do your full yogic breath, your alternating current in your belly. So as you inhale, there's a soft belly so that you can breathe deeply. And as you exhale, navel to spine. And feel the effects in the lower back as well. That there should be some movement there as well with your breath. Front leg and come on out into your triangle pose, Trikonasana. So for now, just keep the hand around, yeah, that's it. Back of the hand on the waist and feeling for that pulse of the breath, not only at the front body, but also at the back body as well. And really harnessing, focusing all of your attention into your center, your core. Okay, from here, just place the left hand onto the hip. You might like to have your block in front of you for your Ardha Chandrasana. So launching yourself forward and finding Ardha Chandrasana. That's it. Good. Feel free to take the top arm up if you'd like to. Have a look at your right toes. So you want them facing forward. And then remember with that back leg, same as in down dog, rather than having it just heavy, plug it in and activate through the leg and feel it connected at your core. And from your center, drop down through your standing leg. Let that be your balance. Maybe hovering the right hand if you wanted to. Good. All right, then bending into the standing leg. Come back through your triangle pose. Stretch the left arm over and then folding yourself down through the center, letting the toes turn in and the heels turn out slightly. And lift halfway up. Think natural curves of the spine. So even your lower back here, maybe can you feel your lower back drawing in a little? And then keep that as you fold from the hips and fold yourself to the space between the feet. Nice. So some of you might like to try for an inversion here, as in coming towards headstand. If you know that this is in your practice, create a domino effect in the room. But really it comes from center and placing your head down and then bringing your center over your head will actually create a lightness and give you a big lift up. And it's just a counterbalance to lift. Look at you all going for it. That's awesome. All right, inhale and lift halfway up. And then let us take from your navel, twisting and opening the left arm up to the sky. And exhale and release the left hand down. And from your center, inhale, twisting and opening the right arm up to the sky. And exhaling to lower down. Inhale, the left arm up to the sky. This time walk your right hand forward so it's not on your mat. Yes. And take that left foot to the right, coming across. That's it. So then rather than having the head in front of the arm, have the head between the arms and poking your head through the window there. Good. And now let the twist come from your center, from your belly. So can you turn your navel up towards the sky more? Good. Keep a hold with that left hand. Bring the right hand over and make it more of a forward fold over that over your right leg. That's it. Just working with your breath, it would probably just be, rather than even an alternating current, here it might just be actually let your belly be soft. If you wanted to take it a little further, you could bend into the left knee and stay with the right leg straight. It seems counterintuitive, so other way, Jen. Yep. All right, now lifting a little, spin yourself around this way. And before we get to the second side, let's simply step the left foot forward and we'll take a balance pose intermission. So inhaling and opening through the front of the body, exhaling and folding in. I think it's better than popcorn. Not sure. Inhaling. Just, it was a the silence was deafening. There is nothing. All right, so center connects us to our balance. Think of a tightrope walker. So they often have those big poles, and that's to lower their center of gravity so that they can be more stable on the tightrope. So as we simply focus on our center, become more stable as well. So let's take the weight onto the left foot, place the right foot either to the inner ankle or the inside of the shin or the thigh. So you never want to go foot onto the knee, because the knee is basically a hinge joint and doesn't like sideways movement. So we've just all got our right leg up and bringing the hands into Namaste. Okay, take your hands actually onto your belly and start to drop down. From your center, imagine like a banyan tree, how they just drop roots from branches and it drops down into the earth, and let that hold you steady. Focus on that downward, effortless grounding, and then from there, if you would like to, you could stretch the arms up. You don't have to. But as yogis, it's a really good idea to continue to challenge our balance. So it can be really helpful to challenge your balance by maybe shifting your gaze. So yes, looking at one point is far easier, but can you move your eyes around the room? Only if you're solid in your balance. And another way you could challenge yourself with your drishti, with your gaze, is to maybe close your eyes and see how your balance is. Another way is to have someone wobbling in front of you. Is really good for challenging your balance. Okay, and then release the side. So you can reposition your left foot. Some people find that the double mats is too spongy, so you could just go onto the floor as well. With your left foot, you want your left toes pointing down more and actively pressing in. So by the way, there's just no such thing as slippery yoga pants. Sorry to burst that bubble. Actually press in your foot into and your leg back into the foot so that you've got some stabilization there. Okay, again, stretching the arms up, or another way you could challenge your balance is to think about your maybe less of a base, so you could come up towards tippy toes, would challenge your balance. Other things that we can do as yogis, so we continually want to find that place where we are wobbling. Do you understand that wobbling isn't failure? Wobbling is just your brain figuring it out. There's proprioception, and it's so important to have this connection challenged, which is why yoga is so great, that we challenge our balance often. And it means that we can move into old age and not be worried about falling over when the wind blows, because this is a real concern. You may have had that experience with a family member. So you can then come back and releasing the foot down. It's really important to know that wobbling is not failure. Wobbling is your brain figuring it out, and wobbling is a good thing. Yes. All right. So let's inhale and take the arms out and up. And as you exhale, fold yourself forward and down. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the spine, natural curves of the spine. So maybe thinking your neck as part of the spine. And then exhaling back into plank pose. So step your feet back into plank. Again, press the earth away from you, look into the belly, scoop the tail. Strong core activation here. We need that core strength. It's switched on. And breathe more into the side ribs and maybe into the chest as you look forward. Press the earth away from you. Lift, press into me here. Yes, even more. And then lower yourself down. So just watch your lift into me here. Lift, yes, even more. Press down to lift up through here. Yes, that's it. All right, rise up into your cobra, hands a little wider than shoulder width apart, and actively pressing the tops of the feet down. Stay long through the inner ankle, and the elbows are drawing back. And then exhaling to lower the head and chest down. Tuck the toes towards you. Remember that as you activate your core here, you're going to be lighter. So lifting through your core and hips. And so you think lifting your hips first and then shoulders and chest second. Okay, then, but everything comes up at once, yeah? And then back into downward facing dog. So let's take the second side of that flow. You can inhale your left leg smoothly up to the sky. And again, going for that feeling of maybe reaching the heel away versus plugging the femur back into the socket and squaring the hips around. And just one breath, exhale, a knee into the chest, navel to spine here. Press the earth away from you, round through the back. Inhale to stretch up. This time, keep the leg extended, keep the leg straight, keep it connected and plugged in. So focus out at your center and exhale forward into your one-legged plank. Good. And then inhaling up and back into your three-legged dog. And you can exhale the foot forward to the space between the hands. So having your block at the front of the mat again could be helpful. Turn the back heel in and down and coming on up into your Virabhadrasana 2 once again. So checking that the left toes are pointing straight forward, right toes have turned in ever so slightly so that that right hip can come forward, but then the ribs rotate around. You can inhale the left arm up to the sky and wrap your right arm around behind and go for this alternating current. So all of your focus, all of your attention is in at the belly. The inhale, the belly softens. The exhale, the navel moves to the spine. There might be this gentle oscillation in the pelvis and in the lower back especially. Feel all of your attention harnessed within this power center. In yoga, it's Manipura, our lustrous gem, the power center within. Okay, keep your right arm there and straighten your to to triangle pose, Trikonasana. So you don't have to actually bind if you don't want to. You could just go back of the hand onto the waist like this, and maybe moving the elbow back. So with this one, think about your breath. Once again, the full yogic breath into the belly, the side ribs, the chest, and even breathing into the upper back as well. You don't have to look up, feel free to look down. Right arm, maybe just bring the hand onto the hip and do any circles that you need to. Look down, bend into that left knee and transfer the weight forward, coming into your Ardha Chandrasana. So thinking of your center once again, and dropping down, so a plumb line, dropping straight down from your center, down through your standing leg, into the center of the earth, the molten core. And that will give you this stability that might allow you greater freedom, and perhaps even hovering the bottom hand. You might even be able to change your gaze. You might like to stretch the arm up. So another way to change your balance here is to try and look up. If you change your gaze, it's really quite challenging. So challenging yourself here. Okay, bend into your slightly. So ballerinas and dancers have super strong core. They look quite effortless. So thinking strong core and lifting as you lower will slow the descent down. Okay, so we're in triangle pose and pivoting yourself around and into this Prasarita Padottanasana. So toes turn in a little, heels out. And take an inhale to lift and lengthen through the spine, thinking natural curves once more. So natural curves of the spine. Then exhaling and folding in. So I'll just give you the option here of either staying more in this forward fold, or you don't have to go to a handstand. I'm not necessarily suggesting you do, but just to get a sense of lifting up to handstand, in order to do that, you need to bring your center over your hands. So you could just play with lifting up onto tippy toes and thinking center over your hands. Your exhalation, so exhale, lift, 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 navel to spine, tippy toes, taking that center, your center over your hands, over your wrists. So some of you, you need to walk your hands closer to your feet. You were probably okay, Lauren, yeah. So you could do that 3, maybe 5 times. Just taking that focused center, active core, and taking it over the hands and feeling, oh, it's so light and possible to actually lift up into handstand. And if you wanted to float up into handstand, you totally could. Good. All right, then walk the hands forward again, so they might be off your mat and even be on fingertips here. Take an inhale and send the right arm up to the sky, but let it be from your center, so from your navel connected up to your fingertips. And then as you exhale, release the hand down, and inhaling, floating the left arm up and opening and twisting from navel to fingertips. Join the dots all the way along, and exhaling to lower down. Inhaling and lifting the right arm up once again from navel all the way to fingertips, and then this time threading the arm through to the opposite leg and pop your head between the hands. So you might even like to come up onto those left fingertips and move the left elbow back and twisting yourself around. So you're twisting from your navel, from your center. And just notice you've probably already got this alternating current with the breath. There's probably an active exhalation, still your full yogic breath. Great thing about being upside down is that it means that the diaphragm needs to work, it has to work. Good. Right. Then releasing the left hand onto the ankle and folding yourself in. So you've got both hands over the ankle and folding in. And some of you, if you did it on the other side, you may even like to bend that right knee. So maybe pointing the right toes out so that it can turn out slightly. Yes, and still stay with the forward fold over the left leg as much as possible. And then walking your hands all the way around, back to the front of the mat. Recoil and stepping forward, another balance pose intermission, inhaling to lift and open, and exhale to fold yourself in. Come on up through a reverse swan dive, thinking natural curves of the spine. So rather than rounded or overarched, and exhaling, hands into namaste. Let's actually just bring the arms alongside the body for a moment, and you can close your eyes but still keep your awareness in this large area of center from the bottom of the ribs out to the side waist, to the pubic bone, the navel at the very center of this. So center, what does it mean to you to be centered? What is the experience like for you? Is it balanced? Is it calm? Is it clear and focused? Each of us have our own unique spin on what being centered means to you. And that's good, that's wonderful. But connect to that and even amplify that. So like the tightrope walker that has the big bar that it holds onto, they hold onto. Feel like you can hold that bar and it makes your legs heavier and it makes you feel more centered and grounded as you then open your eyes and left foot and bring the right knee into the chest. So you could stay here, or you could interlace the fingers at the back of the thigh, or you could go into that Utthita Hasta position. So your choice, but from center, dropping down. Okay, then releasing, open the arms out like your Shalabhasana and pendulum your way through into a three. Feel both femurs plugged into center. You're deeply connected at your core. Stable, strong. And coming back up, knee into the chest, twisting yourself around now. Left hand onto the knee. You could go out into the straight leg variation if you wanted to. So from your navel, as if your navel had an eye and it was twisting around to see, to peer past that right leg. Drop down into the molten core of the earth. Good, and then coming back through center and releasing back to the earth. So you could stretch out that left foot if you need to. Take one sorbet, inhale, reaching the arms up, and exhale, the hands down through the midline. Again, get that real feeling of being grounded. So I remember seeing the Shaolin monks, and just every time before they did a move, before they did one of their feats, they had a very grounding move. So yes, they were harnessing their own energy. So, but being grounded and centered is definitely a major part of martial arts. I'm no expert, but I hear. All right, so keeping that grounded, centered experience for yourself, and bring the left knee up into the chest. Maybe interlacing the fingers or holding on to the big toe as you'd like, but let this experience of being centered be most prominent. So everything else is secondary. It's not so much a hamstring stretch, it's more about how can I keep my focus in center. And then pendulum swing that leg through, plugging your femurs into your core, into your center. And then coming back up and knee into the chest. The leg could straighten out if you wanted to, and dialing that left arm back now. And again, maybe to challenge your own balance, you could even half close the eyes or close them. And then coming back through center, yes or not. Which is why, you know, when you get a cold and your balance goes as well. Inner ear connecting to our proprioception where we are in space. Good. All right. Inhaling to sweep the arms up. Exhale down through the midline. Feel your core from down into the center of the earth. One more time like that. Inhaling up. Let's even go palms facing down and bending the knees. So coming towards a chair pose, but feeling such stability through the legs. So feet are hip width apart, knees are hip width apart. So knees are moving out, so they're tracking directly over the toes. Sink the hips down and find an active core here. So navel towards the spine. Draw the hands into namaste. Yes, maybe your breath is not as full, but you need this active core to help to stabilize and hold you strong. Inhale and take the arms up. And exhale the hands down, sink deeper. Navel to spine. Inhale, breathing maybe more out to the side ribs, to the upper back. And then exhaling and folding yourself forward and down. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the spine. And exhale, stepping both feet back and into your downward facing dog. Take a nice, long, generous dog so that you're ready for plank pose. So look into the belly here, and then with your exhalation, start to ripple the spine forward for plank position. And as part of that, the belly is lifted, the tail is scooped, and the collarbones are broad. And then bend the knees and exhale, move back. Sorry, we're going to inhale back and we'll exhale forward. So we get that coordinating the cat tilt with the core activation, and then inhale, soft belly, booty out as you move back. Inhale to move back into your downward facing dog. Exhale, rippling forward. So just bend your knees and go booty out, ribs to the thighs, and come back like that. And then ripple forward. One more time, one last time, enjoying this flowing movement, coming forward. You're in plank pose. Press the earth away from you and lower yourself down onto the earth, onto your belly. So keep that, yes. Cobra, once again, hands a little wider than shoulder width apart. Look into the belly and then start to lift yourself up, hollowing out. And and scoop of the tail. So cat tilt, posterior tilt, and looking forward and drawing the chest forward as you slide the hands back, but keeping that feeling of hollowing out. And so the breath has to, in the core, so the breath has to come more to the side ribs and maybe to the upper back and upper chest. Better for it to go somewhere than not at all. Okay, exhale and lower yourself down. Tuck the toes towards you. Again, focus on this core strengthening to rise up into your plank, full or a half plank. So you're always better to just stick with a half plank until you've got the good technique. And then back to downward facing dog. You can then bring the knees down onto the earth and rest back into child's pose. Take a restful child's pose. So remember that switched off is actually one of our settings as well. So be particularly soft through the belly, soft through the body. Your breath doesn't even have to be particularly deep here, but just as an overall principle, it's good to still have those complete exhalations that are going to allow you to have wonderful quality of inhalation. This posture may be the epitome of center, safe. And rise up. And then the epitome of core activation and strengthening, we'll do Tolasana, lifting the feet up off the floor. So I'd highly recommend being on fists. If you've got any spectacular rings, just look out for that. So placing your fists about halfway down your thighs and then looking into the belly, navel to spine and lifting, and then lifting the feet up off the floor as well. Maybe crossing the legs over. Yeah, maybe grunting and like snarling. I was looking the other way. Did you all do it perfectly? Awesome. Thank goodness we've only got 10 repetitions to do. No, it's only joking. All right, so coming out. And so in the chakra system, this is our center of will and focus and determination, and the element is fire. So we will do some core work now, and that can be quite heating. So into core work, we know we've got 4 muscles here in the core, and although the rectus abdominis is the most probably highly sought after one, that's the 6-pack muscle, which I'm sorry to say it's an 8-pack. Like sometimes I can get a 2-pack if I lean back and don't breathe and but anyway, I digress. So we're not as interested in that muscle. We are really interested in the transversus abdominis. So it wraps around from the lower back on one side all the way around to the lower back on the other side, and then down to the pubic bone and up to the ribs, all the way around. So we're looking at activating transversus. Let's actually go fingers into, I think we did this last time, but fingers into the navel and then out halfway to the side seam of your shirt, and then deep and cough. Can you feel it activate? Yeah. So then come to sit up, and then how we can access it is to bear down like you're going to poo, but don't. Yes, it's true. I just said that. So instead of pelvic floor pressing out, draw it in. Yes, have you got it? Can you feel it? Active? Feel something? All right. Come out into, we'll take this move of Pilates 100. Just before you do, yeah, so come into, this is called tabletop position, and check the thighs are vertical and hands are alongside the hips, yep, and feet are up at knee height. Okay, so go navel to spine and cinching in through the side waist. And you can feel how you've probably flattened your lower back, yeah? So instead of that instruction, flatten your lower back to the floor, what we're really is natural curves of the spine. So you want to have a tiny little curve there, as in enough to pop a little butterfly under there and keep it there. Yeah, so you've got that strong activation, but you don't want to flatten out. All right, then soften your jaw. All right, take an inhale, and with your exhalation, extend the right leg out about a 45 degree. Watch that left knee, it wants to creep in, don't let it. And then inhaling, bending the right knee in, and exhale, straighten the left leg out. And keeping that bent knee out, and then coming back in, yep. Tabletop, and then continuing on in your own time. So the main thing that happens is that those the bent knee tends to creep in. So if you want less intensity, go more towards a vertical position with the straight leg. If you want more intensity, take it down towards the floor. Really, if you're doing this correctly, it should just be really strong. And if it is too strong, then maybe you have the toes on the floor. Thinking about not squishing your butterfly, yet keeping that strong activation through the core. So are you getting? Yeah? All right. So you can then release and touch the feet down and rise up into a bridge pose. Inhale the hips up into the air. Some of you need to walk your feet towards you a little more. And yes, so you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips. Okay, then lifting through the hips more without letting the knees splay out. Add in that feeling of lengthening through the spine by moving the sacrum and the pubic bone equally towards the backs of the knees. And then you can open the arms out into a T position and lift slowly lower, like links in a chain, one vertebrae at a time, down towards the floor. Good. All right. So either moving into a spinal twist and then going towards Shavasana. One more of these rounds of the Pilates 100s, but taking it into more of a twisting movement. So rookie error would be thinking elbow to knee, not elbow to knee. Think armpit to knee, yeah? So keep your elbows wide, do what we were doing before without that knee coming forward. Yeah, that's it. So just so you know, you're not going to get there. Don't think. So keep your elbow wide. Yeah. All right. So just this sort of elbow flapping is not it. Keep this configuration, this same shape, and lift everything up off the floor. Better, good, good. And not so much chin to the chest. Maintain natural curves by perhaps looking up a little more. Oh yeah, how's your butterfly? How's your breathing? How's your breathing? So you can see when you've really got core activation, you should have an alternating current here because you're doing the movement and strengthening on your exhalation, technically. Just a few more. Yes, some of you are going blue in the face. So other armpit up. Yes, yeah. Good. And you can see if you're doing it correctly, then it actually is very strong, yeah? So technique is important. All right, lots of fun. You can have a muffin after this, can't you? You can release the, yes, blueberry muffin. I heard you, Bridget. All right, so arms out to a T position. Let's our focus wide as the mat, and we'll move side to side. So you can inhale to one side and exhale to the other side. So just windscreen wiper the legs and actually allow the rocking and the movement to come from your center. When you get over to the right side next, the knees to the right, just shuffle the hips a little to a twist. So whether you want to stack the legs on top of each other or cross them over, some of you might like to extend that left leg out and hold with the right hand. And finding probably a pretty soft belly. Your core switched off. And how does that feel? And then you can unravel and switch over to the and again, just allowing a feeling of ease. And still you have your attention in your center, within your belly. And the effortless flow of the breath, the ebb and flow, the pulse of the breath. But you don't need to do too much about it. And then you can find your way back up through center down for Shavasana. Like a magnet, you might find that your mind is naturally drawn back into your center. And you can let it do that. Just allow your mind to, your awareness to percolate this space. Not only the muscles, but the organs. These beautiful organs, digestive organs that feed you, that nourish you. Still that effortless rhythm of the breath within the belly. And let yourself be completely mesmerized by this. Now you can drop this one pointed awareness and allow your attention to disperse out, like the single drop of water that melts into the ocean and instantly becomes the entire ocean. And notice how easily and effortlessly this happens, how effortlessly and easily the relaxation happens, purely because of all of the focus that you've held throughout this practice. From one pointed to super expansive that includes and contains all things. from the vastness. Return back into the one-pointed experience of yourself. Maybe right in your center, right in the navel. And as you rest here, reflect once again on what being centered means to you. In particular, know that both center and balance may be sought after incorrectly. So balance, as displayed by the calendar year, there are actually only 2 days out of 365 that are in perfect balance. Everything else is the ebb and flow, the flux of life. So maybe being centered is more about being able to go with and maintain your feeling of presence than being in a set, static place. And that potentially that has more power. So you can start to awaken your body, taking everything, all of the lessons and learnings from this practice and feeling them settle in your bones into a knowing inside of you. Allow your breath to lengthen. And as you come back into yourself, you can trust that this feeling of being centered will be with you throughout the day, throughout your life. You can roll yourself over to the side and pause for some time. And coming on up to a seated position. We'll do the Shantipat to send our blessings across the planet. May all beings be happy and free. Beings be happy. Please join me with a long inhale. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, sushantir bhavantu, sushantir bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And one Om. Namaste. Thank you.